I loved being that teacher that would say the kid's name every day when they walked into the classroom. I'd shake their hand because I thought, that poor child, like, what if that's the only handshake they get? And I loved getting to be that like light into their life. And but then when I got to be pregnant with Caitlin, I just thought, oh, my baby, I don't want somebody else to have her. I want to have her myself. So I would say like homeschooling started from pregnancy.
When we first started homeschooling, we're now, of course, as our listeners know, nearing the end of our oldest daughter's senior year. Yeah. And our oldest daughters are 5 months apart, almost to the day. And our two younger kids, we both only have two kids. Our two younger kids are 5 weeks apart. Yeah. And so it was so fun. We got to be pregnant at the same time, both times. And so we've really we've raised our kids together, and it's been really fun. So I remember when we started talking about homeschooling, actually, you and I talked about homeschooling long before
either of our girls. Homeschool.
No, long before the girls were born.
Against it.
I was adamantly against homeschooling, and you were one of the people who started encouraging me in the way of homeschooling, probably before the girls were even born, before your daughter and my daughter were born.
Was I? Did I then?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
I don't think I even knew,
because you were a public school teacher at the time.
Yeah, I don't think I even knew I was going to homeschool until I guess I was pregnant.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
Well, talk about that. Talk about that transition for you, because you went from being a public school teacher, and maybe talk about your experience with that. You were a public school teacher in LA County
for 5 years. Yeah, I was a pre-algebra junior high.
She was a math geek.
Math teacher. I loved it. I loved being that teacher that would say the kid's name every day when they walked into the classroom. I'd shake their hand because I thought, that poor child, like, what if that's the only handshake they get? And I loved getting to be that like light into their life. And but then when I got to be pregnant with Caitlin, I just thought, oh, my baby, I don't want somebody else to have her. I want to have her myself. So I would say like homeschooling started from pregnancy, and I would sing to her in my belly. And then the thought of giving her up was just weird to me after that point. But then even it came to kindergarten time, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I should send her to school. And I actually went to the public school kindergarten meeting and had a moment where I thought, no, never mind. I got this sick feeling in my stomach, and I just like ran out of there and thought, no way, nobody's going to take my baby.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened for me. But I remember me telling you, oh, I think I'm going to homeschool my baby. And you were like, oh, no.
Right. No,
those people are crazy.
Yeah, they're weird.
And I was
those
like,
homeschoolers.
You're calling me crazy, but.
Yep. I thought it was weird.
Yeah. Well, I think, that your experience always shapes what you think about other people. And so I don't think you had met homeschoolers at that time.
Well, I
knew
were
sort of normal people.
Right. I was going to say I knew some homeschoolers, but yes, that's probably the key, is that in my mind, at least, they were still a little bit on the odd train.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You used to definitely say, like, there's no way I would do that because that's just crazy. And it's like the typical, I think, lie of the enemy that the kids aren't going to be socialized, whatever they mean by that. Right. And I think that it's just not true that the kids won't be socialized. Because we get to the opportunity to bring them up with a variety of ages of people. And I just had this little sweet little lady, Nellie, at church. She was hunched over with her little earbud, and her little, what do you call it? What is the thing?
Hearing aid?
You can't hear. Yes, a hearing aid. And she told me, dear, I had just told her that I homeschooled. We had just met. And she goes, I can't think of a reason why that's not a good thing. Oh. My grandkids are homeschooled. And I think it's just lovely that you do that. And I was like, oh, because some people just go like, oh, okay. And they walk away. So it was so encouraging to have that little voice of, you're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
especially from someone in the older generation, because oftentimes they still don't understand. We have family members who are older and they are like, why are you doing this again? I remember my uncle, and he's in his 70s, and a few years ago when we early in our homeschool years. And he was so kind about it. He wasn't rude in any way, but he was just like, explain to me why. Like, why in the world would you do this homeschool thing when that you could send them to school and they could get a really great education? He's an attorney. And so he's all about academics. And so for him, it was like, well, you can't possibly give them the academic model at home that they can get in a school. And so,
there's always the academia lie, and there's the socialism. Socialism.
That's a lie too, Crystal.
Socialization lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so where that lady was going with it is she said that her grandkids really talk to her as an older person, and she sees them interacting with kids of all ages. And I see that with my kids. They'll play with younger kids at the park. They'll interact with the grownups at our family gatherings. And I think that's beautiful. And they're, kids with special needs. They're not afraid because they're not packed into kids only their age all the time. Now, do we take classes with kids their age? Yeah, sure. Are we at church and Sunday school sometimes with kids their age? Sure. But it's not going to damage our kids socially to keep them home and take them with us, and they get to see all of life, not just the little bubble of school.
Right.
I didn't really know that before I started homeschooling, but I've seen it now.
Yeah. So it was fun. We started homeschooling together, and I was terrified. You were not as scared as I was.
No.
Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.